Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to the course of Transferable Skills Development MGT 495, and today is lecture number 4, and I am your facilitator, Professor Dr. Muhammad Majid Mahmood Bagram. Okay, today we will be talking about the relationship of transferable skills development with organizational learning and organizational performance. Now, the basic purpose of the course of transferable skills development is to create a learning organization, of course. So, we will be talking about the learning organizations, and then we will see that in today's discussion that how we can use organizational learning for increasing organizational performance, and how both these organizational learning and organizational performance are linked with transferable skills development. Now, in order to perform any responsibility in the organization, employees, they need skills. Now, in order to get those skills, they need to have certain kind of environment. Now, we will be talking today in depth about how to create that learning environment, because there is one thing very important when we talk about motivation of employees. That is, one can not motivate people by just talking. Yes, to a little extent one can influence and one can motivate, but real motivation occurs when you design an environment, a motivational environment in which people get motivated automatically. Now, according to philosopher, his name is Jung, he suggested few strategies how to create that motivational environment in your office. Young philosopher, he talked about communication. You need to improve communication between employees and employer, among employees. So we need to improve the communication between the people who are working in the organization, and of course outside the organization as well. Then he talked about education, he talked about training and development, he talked about rewards, he talked about like top management support. So these are the strategies required to create that motivating environment. So once the environment is highly motivating, of course the result is that performance of employees increase. Now, how we can ensure improved performance without motivation? That is not possible. Another important thing we need to talk about here is that only motivation is not enough. Training, like for example, you are highly motivated, but if you do not get trainings, if you do not get skills, if you do not implement, so in order to implement your strategies, one needs to have certain skills. And how you excel, how you perform better, how you acquire better skills, best skills available in the market, with the help of right motivation. So motivation always starts with your attitude. Now, attitude means that the way you think. Now, the way you think is really very important, your perception, your thinking. Like for example, some persons, they are highly committed with the organization, but there are few people who do not have that much commitment with the organization. Now, the question is why this happens in the same organization. Even the rewards are same for two persons. One person is highly motivated, the other person is not that much motivated with his or her job assignments. What is the root cause? So of course, the right answer is, it is your aptitude, it is your attitude. The way you think, your perception. आप अपने काम को क्या बहुत ज़्यादा उसको आप टेंशन लेके काम कर रहे हैं, आप बहुत हाई स्ट्रेस के साथ काम कर रहे हैं, या आप अपनी जॉब रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज़ को एज ए अपनी जिम्मेदारी समझ के उसको परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं. हैव टू में और लाइक आई प्रेफर टू में बहुत फ़र्क है. जो लोग ये समझते हैं कि ऑफिस में आना, ऑफिस की टाइमिंग्स को फॉलो करना, रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस को फॉलो करना, ये पाबंदियां हैं, they are not that much committed with the organization as compared to those organizations who prefer to follow the rules and regulations in the organization, who prefer to follow the timings of the organization, who prefer to follow the discipline in the organization. So instead of feeling that now this thing is like a big problem for me or a reason of high stress, बजाय इसके you need to focus on like your responsibilities. So people who realize their responsibilities, they are better performers than those people who just robotic work. Now when we talk about organizational learning and organizational performance, creativity and innovation is really very important. Now, how do you differentiate between creativity and innovation? Okay, what comes in your mind? अल्लाह ताला ने तमाम इंसानों को अशरफुल मखलूक़ात बनाया. Now, every human being is unique. No two humans are same. Now, so it means that all human beings are creative. We have new ideas, but innovation is a higher step. Like for example, when you have the new ideas, that is called creativity. But when you filter those new ideas, creative ideas, like for example, आप filter लगाते हैं those ideas which are practicable and those ideas which are beneficial. तो जब आप ये filter लगाएंगे तो वही ideas filter होके आगे जाएंगे जो practicable हैं, जो beneficial हैं. तो जो ideas आपके practicable हैं, जो आपके ideas beneficial हैं society के लिए, लोगों के लिए, that becomes your innovation. So how we ensure creativity and innovation in the organization? That is only possible if we bring positive changes in the attitudes and behavior of our employees. And that is the major theme of this course, that we are working our level best to acquire skills and then transfer skills. Because if you only acquire skill and then you do not transfer those skills, you know, the journey stops. So it is an ongoing process, learning and transferring skills, learning and transferring skills. Okay, we move forward. According to philosophers and researchers, what learning means. In organizational development, learning is a characteristic of an adaptive organization. That is, an organization that is able to sense changes in signals from its environment, both internal and external, and adopt accordingly. Now, what does it mean? Let us discuss this definition in depth. Now, organizations which are able to sense changes in signals from its environment, both internal and external, Now, what are the internal signals and what are the external signals? Now, internal signals mean like from within the organization, we have existing employees or old employees, we have the new employees. Now, when new and old employees are working together, they give their feedback. So, based on the feedback, we change our strategies accordingly in the organization. At the same time, when we talk about external signals, here we are talking about our competitors. Here we are talking about our external environment. Here we are talking about all those forces which have some impact on our organization. So, whatever our competitors are doing, it has a strong impact on our organization. Now, if you ignore your competitors, if you ignore your external signals, तो let us assume कि अगर आप इस चीज़ से आप कहते हैं कि हमें कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता कि हमारे कंपेटिटर क्या कर रहे हैं, हम तो अपना काम वैसे ही करेंगे जिस तरह से हम करते आए हैं. तो if you keep on doing same things every day, you will keep on getting same results every time. So in order to bring better changes, in order to improve your performance, you need to sense changes from your internal and external environment, and then you need to adopt those changes accordingly. Otherwise, you are not learning. So, learning is really very important, because organizations which are not learning organizations, with the passage of time, their performance level declines, and one day comes that they are no more in the market. There are almost no monopolies in the world these days. Now, every organization, every product, every service, every idea, every product, it has a competitor. Now, in order to survive in the market, in order to excel in the market, in order to set benchmark in the market, you need to be proactive. Now, proactive जब हम बात करते हैं तो there are two types of managers in organizations, reactive and proactive. Now, reactive people are those, reactive employees or managers are those, when something happens they respond. On the other side, proactive people are those who plan in advance, who predict, who sense changes, that this is expected in the coming years. They predict, they forecast, and before that thing occurs, they, make their strategies and implement those strategies. So, prevention is better than cure. इससे पहले कि आग लग जाए, लोग आग लगने ही नहीं देते. तो जो आग लगने के बाद उसको बुझाते हैं, they are the reactive people, और जो आग लगने नहीं देते, they are the proactive people. So learning helps you become proactive. This is really very important in any organization, whether we are talking about the public sector or private sector of Pakistan. Now let us talk about organizational learning. According to philosopher Argyros, he defines organizational learning as the process of detection and correction of errors. In his view, organizations learn through individuals acting as agents for them. Now, the basic theme of organizational learning, according to philosopher Argyros, is detection and correction of errors. So you detect, you identify the problems, you correct it. But identification of the root causes is not so easy. Mostly what happens in organizations that they focus more on symptoms and they focus less on the root causes of the problem. Now, if you are focusing more on symptoms and you are not focusing or focusing less on the root causes of the problem, how you are going to bring in better solutions? So, in order to identify the problem correctly, one needs to focus on the root causes of the problem instead of focusing only on the symptoms. Of course, symptoms leads you towards root causes of the problem. But most people, what they do is they just focus on the symptoms and they do not move towards the root causes of the problem. For instance, if employees are not performing well in an organization, so with the help of their progress reports, their performance reports, and then with your output ratios, one can easily know that the performance level is declining. Now that is the symptom. So if you focus only on the symptom, what you do is you only focus on punishing those people who are not performing well. It means that you are addressing the symptoms. But if you dig deep for the root causes, you will know that why employees are not performing well. Now, this is really very important to know that what are the root causes. For example, possible root causes of poor performance are, for example, lack of skills, incompetence, lack of trainings, lack of resources, a lack of support, lack of motivation, lack of rewards. So some of these root causes, they like employees are responsible. But most of the root causes, organization is responsible. So if you only focus on employees, and for example, if employees have lack of resources, and you start punishing your people because they are not performing well, so it is not their fault. It is the fault of lack of resources. So now you see that कि जब आप रूट कॉजेज को आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं तो आपको पता चलता है कि असल वजह क्या है परफॉर्मेंस बेहतर ना होने की. तो डेफिनेटली डिटेक्शन of problem and then correction of problems or errors accordingly is really very important. But one needs to detect the root causes of the problem, not only the symptoms. Further talking about organizational learning, another philosopher named Huber, he clarifies that learning need not be conscious or intentional. Further, learning does not always increase the learner's effectiveness or even potential effectiveness. Moreover, learning need not result in observable changes in behavior. Now this is a totally opposite point of view. जो हमने पिछली स्लाइड में अगर आप यहाँ पे जाएं तो आप देखें कि आर्गायरस ने जो बात की, now that is a totally different point of view, and when we look at Huber, he gives a totally opposite point of view. Now ज़रूरी नहीं है कि लर्निंग के नतीजे में आपकी जो परफॉर्मेंस है, आपकी जो इफेक्टिवनेस है, अकॉर्डिंग टू ह्यूबर वो इंक्रीज हो जाए और आपके बिहेवियर में कोई वाज़े चेंजेस आ जाएं ड्यू टू लर्निंग. ज़रूरी नहीं है अकॉर्डिंग टू Huber. Okay, let's look at organizational learning from the point of view of philosophers Duncan and Weiss. These philosophers argue that individual learning occurs when people give a different response to the same stimulus. But organizational learning occurs when groups of people give the same response to different stimuli. Now, Duncan and Weiss, they differentiate between individual learning and organizational learning. Now, as you see that, okay, you have the same situation, but individuals, different employees in your organizations, they have a different response to this in the same situation. That is called individual learning. But if individuals are giving same response, if they are not giving different responses, if individuals in your organizations are giving same response to the same stimulus, individual learning does not occur. So according to these philosophers, individuals only learn when they have their own point of view in different situations. On the other side, when we talk about organizational learning, where group of people give the same response to different stimuli. So this is like, I hope that you have understood the difference between individual learning and organizational learning. Now let us talk about how organizations learn. According to philosophers Argyros and Shawn, they were the first to propose models that facilitate organizational learning. Argyros and Shawn, 1978, distinguish between single loop and double loop learning. In single loop learning, individual groups or organizations modify their actions according to difference between expected and obtained outcomes. Now, first let us clarify single loop learning. Now, there are some expectations from employees and there is some actual performance. Like for example, you have the actual performance and you have the desired performance. Now desired performance is from the side of the employer and actual performance is from the employees. So there is a difference between the actual performance and desired performance. Like for example, employers, they want you to perform at this level. But if your performance is here, your actual performance, there is a gap here. Now this gap is like you change your, like for example, actions, you modify your actions according to the difference between the actual performance and desired performance. So there is a performance difference or performance gap. Now उस performance gap की जो reasons थी, जो root causes थी, उनको सामने रख के you modify your actions. Purpose is कि you want to minimize this gap. Like for example, आपकी expected performance आपसे employer की ये है, आप यहाँ तक perform कर रहे हैं, तो बीच में जो gap है तो आप उसको अपने actions को modify करते करते उस gap को minimize करने की और ख़त्म करने की कोशिश करते हैं. This is called single loop learning. In double loop learning, the entities, individuals, groups, or organizations, they question the values, assumptions, and policies that led to the actions in the first place. If they are able to view and modify those, then second order or double loop learning has taken place. Now this is really very interesting, that Like for example, you set your targets and then you want to achieve those targets. This is what single loop learning is. But in double loop learning, you focus more on like the criteria, like for example, जो targets आपने set किए हैं, क्या वो targets realistic हैं या unrealistic हैं? So you question, you have a questioning mind. हमने previous lecture में बात की थी कि one should have a questioning mind. So people having questioning mind, they question things. They question values, assumptions and policies. Like for example, हमारे यहाँ certain rules हैं. Like for example, public sector को जब हम देखते हैं पाकिस्तान में, तो like for example, जो like अगर आप लेते हैं हाउस रेंट सब्सिडी को, तो आप मुझे बताएं कि क्या हाउस रेंट सब्सिडी जो है वो रियलिस्टिक है? ऑफ कोर्स नॉट. तो डबल लूप लर्निंग में क्या है कि पीपल क्वेश्चन द पॉलिसीज एंड रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस, कि आप जो रिवॉर्ड्स दे रहे हैं अपने एम्प्लॉइज को, क्या वो रियलिस्टिक हैं? अगर एम्प्लॉइज की मोटिवेशन डिक्लाइन हो रही है, अगर एम्प्लॉइज की परफॉर्मेंस डिक्लाइन हो रही है, तो what are the root causes? So one major factor that is responsible for poor performance in the public sector of Pakistan is lack of rewards. So in double loop learning, you question that whether this policy rule is appropriate or not, whether this rule is realistic or not. और शुरू में ही जब आप देख लेते हैं कि आप अपने फॉर एग्जांपल जो आपके टारगेट्स हैं, जो हमने शुरू बात की थी, कि आप अपने देखते हैं कि आपके टारगेट्स रियलिस्टिक हैं या अनरियलिस्टिक हैं, और अपने टारगेट्स को आप रियलिस्टिक बनाते, और जब रियलिस्टिक टारगेट्स होते हैं तो उनको उनकी जो आपकी एक्चुअल परफॉर्मेंस है वो इंप्रूव हो जाती है, क्योंकि यू आर हाईली मोटिवेटेड बिकॉज जो आपको टारगेट दिया गया है वो रियलिस्टिक है. Like for example, when we talk about like for example banking sector में जब हम देखते हैं कि जो एम्प्लॉइज़ जो फील्ड में काम कर रहे हैं बैंकिंग सेक्टर में, जो दे आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल लाइक जो सेल्स में हैं, और जो लाइक जिनके जब लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल दे आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल टू लाइक इंक्रीज द डिपॉजिट्स इन द बैंक, तो अगर आप देखें कि उनको जो आपने टारगेट्स दिए हैं क्या वो रियलिस्टिक हैं क्या अनरियलिस्टिक. लेट्स लुक एट द फार्मास्यूटिकल कंपनीज, लेट्स लुक एट द अदर यू नो कंपनीज इन पब्लिक प्राइवेट सेक्टर एज वेल. सो इन डबल लूप लर्निंग आप इनिशियल आप स्टार्ट लेने से पहले ही अपने जो तमाम जो आपकी वैल्यूज़ हैं, assumptions हैं, पॉलिसीज़ हैं, उनको क्वेश्चन करते हैं ताकि वहीं पे उनको करेक्ट कर लिया जाए. तो बजाय ये कि एंड पे जाके रिज़ल्ट ठीक ना हो, आप शुरू में ही अपने टारगेट्स को रियलिस्टिक कर लेते हैं ताकि एंड पे जाके यू इंश्योर कि आपके रिजल्ट्स ठीक हों. Now when we talk about types of learning, there are two types of learning called operant conditioning and social learning. Let us talk about these two types of learning one by one. The first one is called operant conditioning. Now this means that learning that takes place when the learner recognizes the connection between a behavior and its consequences. Like for example, कि लोग like for example जैसे आग है तो उसको like for example गलती से भी ये कहीं हाथ उसके करीब भी चला जाए तो आपको बहुत ज़्यादा तपिश फील होती है और आप ज़ाहिर बात है कि आप ये सोचते हैं कि मुझे आग की तरफ हाथ मेरा करीब नहीं जाना चाहिए था. सो इट मीन्स दैट कि जो भी आपका बिहेवियर होता है, जो भी आपका एक्शन होता है, वो कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस को सामने रख कर होता है. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल आप कहते हैं कि अगर मैं ये करूंगा तो वो होगा, अगर मैं वो करूंगा तो ये होगा। तो आप एंड रिजल्ट्स को सामने रख के अपने एक्शंस को डिफाइन करते हैं, एंड दैट इज कॉल्ड ऑपरेंट कंडीशनिंग। आपको पता है कि अगर आप परफॉर्म नहीं करेंगे ऑफिस में तो आपको ऑफिस से फारिग भी किया जा सकता है, तो यू विल इंप्रूव योर परफॉर्मेंस। आपको पता है कि अगर अपने टारगेट्स को अचीव नहीं करेंगे तो यू विल बी इन बिग ट्रबल। तो आप अपने एक्शंस को, अपनी स्किल्स को इंप्रूव करते हैं ताकि आप अपने टारगेट्स को ना सिर्फ अचीव करें बल्कि एक्सीड करें अपने टारगेट से आप। सो consequences decides your behavior. So आप अपने एक्शंस को, अपने बिहेवियर को वही रखते हैं जो अकॉर्डिंग टू द consequences. And talking about the social learning theory. A learning theory that takes into account the fact that thoughts and feelings influence learning. Now, this is really very important that your thoughts and feelings influence learning. So, your thoughts and feelings are directly related to your attitude. So, if you have a positive attitude, it has a positive impact on your learning. If you have a negative attitude, of course, it has a negative impact on your learning. So, people with the positive attitude, they learn more than those people having the negative attitude. Necessary components of social learning theory include vicarious learning, self-control, and self-efficacy. Let us discuss these one by one. Learning that occurs when one person, the learner, learns a behavior by watching another person, the model, perform the behavior. So it means that you have a role model and you watch that role model, you learn and you try to copy your role model. Learners can also learn from situations in which models get punished. And role models can be positive or negative. Now this social learning theory is really very important and very interesting. Like हमने almost, अगर आप सोचें अपने बारे में भी आप सोचें, मैं like कि we have role models. तो हम अपने रोल मॉडल्स को देखते हैं कि like for example उनका एटीट्यूड क्या है, उनका बिहेवियर क्या है, उनके एक्शंस क्या हैं, उन्होंने किस तरह अपने आप को, अपने कैरियर में अपने आप को डेवलप किया. सो वी लर्न फ्रॉम आवर रोल मॉडल्स. बट दिस थ्योरी आल्सो सेज दैट जब रोल मॉडल्स जो हैं वो आपके पॉजिटिव भी हो सकते हैं, नेगेटिव भी. I strongly believe that we all follow the positive role models. But there are few examples when people, they have negative role models and they try to do what the negative people do. Talking about self-control, which is another component of social learning theory, it says that self-discipline that allows a person to learn to perform a behavior even though there is no external pressure to do so. Like for example, आपका बॉस ऑफिस में नहीं है, आपका सुपरवाइजर नहीं है, you are alone in the office room, or like for example आपकी जो ऑफिस टाइमिंग्स हैं, it is 8 AM to 4 PM. Now, if you finish your work, like for example by 2:30 PM, so you have 1.5 hours left. So what do you do? There is nobody who is watching you. There is no external pressure. You have achieved your target, but you have remaining 1.5 hours. So what do? So that really, conveys the meaning that what is your self-control. So people having the discretionary behavior, without any external pressure, they have a behavior. They are highly committed with the organization. They are highly loyal with the organization. So people with that high discretionary behavior, highly positive discretionary behavior, तो वो जो हम अभी एग्जांपल मैंने दी कि 1.5 hour अभी रिमेनिंग है ऑफिस टाइमिंग्स के, तो those people having the positive discretionary behavior, they improve the quality of the work performed. Further, like for example, नेक्स्ट डे का प्लान्स बनाना शुरू कर देते हैं, जो स्ट्रेटजीज उन्होंने बनाई हैं उसको मज़ीद रिफाइन कर लेते हैं. सो उनके लिए कोई एक्सटर्नल प्रेशर होना ज़रूरी नहीं है. सो दिस इज कॉल्ड रियल सेल्फ कंट्रोल. अदरवाइज नॉर्मली ये देखा गया कि जब एम्प्लॉयज़ के ऊपर प्रेशर होता है, उनको चेक किया जा रहा है, उनसे बार बार पूछा जा रहा है, तो they perform. But when there is no pressure, there is nobody to check them, so they do not perform in some cases. But people having the self-control, so whether a supervisor or boss is there or not, whether there is any pressure or not, they perform the best. Now talking about self-efficacy, which is another component of social learning theory, it says that a person's belief about his or her ability to perform a particular behavior successfully. Now sources of self-efficacy are past performance, verbal persuasion. Now this is really very important, that your past performance, कि आपको कितना यकीन है कि आप एक कोई काम कर पाएंगे या नहीं कर सकते आप. Past performance, like people having, like for example experienced people, based on their experience, they know that they can perform the present task because they have already performed the same task in the past. So ना सिर्फ ये कि वो उसको परफॉर्म करते हैं, बल्कि पहले से बेहतर परफॉर्म करने की कोशिश करते हैं. सो आपका जितना एक्सपीरियंस्ड होगा, पास्ट एक्सपीरियंस होगा कोई पर्टिकुलर टास्क परफॉर्म करने का, तो उतना ही ज़्यादा आपका स्ट्रॉन्ग बिलीफ होगा उसको नेक्स्ट टाइम परफॉर्म करने के लिए. Another source of self-efficacy is called verbal persuasion. Now verbal means verbal communication. So when we talk about verbal, we talk about non-verbal communication, verbal communication. Do you know the difference between verbal and non-verbal communication? Now verbal persuasion means, or verbal communication means, that oral and written communication. तो आपके साथ जितनी ओरल और रिटन कम्युनिकेशन आप एक कर चुके हैं, आपने खुद कम्युनिकेट किया या आपसे किसी ने कम्युनिकेट किया है, सो उससे आप कितना कन्विंस्ड हैं, आप कितने मोटिवेटेड हैं. सो जितना ज़्यादा आप उससे कन्विंस होंगे, मोटिवेटेड होंगे वर्बल परसुएशन से, उतना ही ज़्यादा आपकी जो बिलीफ है वो उतनी ज़्यादा स्ट्रांग होगी. Now let us talk about learning obstacles. Philosopher Common 2004 discusses obstacles for organizational learning in the public sector. According to Common, these are the factors, these three factors you see on the screen: resistance to change, individual interest, and blame culture. These are the major learning obstacles And let us discuss these three one by one. Now, talking about resistance to change. Now, why people resist to change? Like for example, एक बहुत सिंपल एग्जांपल मैं आपको देता हूँ कि आप फॉर एग्जांपल एक कमरे में बैठे हुए हैं किसी चेयर पे और वहाँ पे मुख्तलिफ काफ़ी सारे लोग बैठे हुए हैं और आपको कहा जाता है कि आप अपनी चेयर से उठ के साथ वाली चेयर पे बैठ जाएं। तो even then you resist, you think कि जी why I should move from one chair to another chair। तो ये तो बहुत प्लेन सी एग्जांपल है, सिंपल सी एग्जांपल है कि आप एक चेयर से उठ के दूसरी चेयर पे बैठते हैं तो आप सोचते हैं मैं क्यों उठूं। तो अगर इसी एग्जांपल को आगे लें कि अगर आपकी जॉब रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज को चेंज किया जाए, अगर आपके टारगेट्स को चेंज किया जाए, आपके ऑफिस टाइमिंग्स को चेंज किया जाए, आपके वर्किंग मेथड्स को चेंज किया जाए, आपको ट्रेनिंग दे के आपके एटीट्यूड और बिहेवियर में चेंजेस लाई जाएं, तो डेफिनेटली देयर इज अ हाई रेजिस्टेंस टू चेंज। तो जब हम चेंज की बात करते हैं तो एम्प्लॉयज जो हैं दे समटाइम रेजिस्ट, दे हैव हाई रेजिस्टेंस टू चेंज, sometimes they have low resistance to change, and sometimes they have medium resistance to change. So let us talk about these three situations one by one. Why employees have high resistance to change? Like for example, in your office you are going to use a new working method. So when you apply the new working method, now, if this method is new in the world, there is always high resistance to change because employees, they have no idea about this new working method. Nobody in the world is using it and you are the pioneer. So since you are the pioneer and you are using this new working method for the very first time in the world, nobody has used this method before you. So there is always high resistance to change. Now let us move towards medium resistance to change. Taking the same example, you have a new working method in your organization. You have introduced the new working method in your organization, but this is new in your organizations, but there are some other organizations in the market who are already using this method. So when other organizations are using the same method but you are using it for the first time, you have medium resistance to change. And finally, low resistance to change. It happens when you reintroduce the working method. Like for example, कुछ अर्सा पहले आप एक working method use कर रहे थे, उसको आपने stop किया और कुछ अरसे के बाद आपने उसको दोबारा से रीस्टार्ट किया और दोबारा से उसको रीइंट्रोड्यूस कराया पहले वाले वर्किंग मेथड को जो आप पास्ट में यूज़ करते रहे। सो जब आप रीइंट्रोड्यूस कराते हैं वर्किंग मेथड को इन योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, तो लोग चूंकि पहले भी उस वर्किंग मेथड पे काम कर चुके हैं, सो देयर इज लो रेजिस्टेंस टू चेंज। नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज हाउ टू मिनिमाइज दिस रेजिस्टेंस टू चेंज। And I strongly believe that one most important thing that can improve performance and that can minimize resistance to change is communication. You need to improve your communication with your employees, with your team members, with your colleagues, and of course training and development and improving rewards. Now another factor which is called a learning obstacle is called individual interests. Now almost everybody has some interest. So individuals or employees having some interest, they learn more than those employees who have no interest. They learn less or they don't learn. So learning के लिए ज़रूरी है कि you should have some interest in learning, and that is only possible if you do that training need analysis. हमारे यहाँ अक्सर ट्रेनिंग पाकिस्तान में जो करवाई जाती हैं, particularly in public sector and sometime in private sector as well, तो आपने खुद देखा होगा, अगर आपने अटेंड की हैं या आपके दोस्तों ने या आपके फैमिली मेंबर्स ने ट्रेनिंग अटेंड की हैं, तो आप ज़रा उनसे पूछिएगा what happens. Most of the participants in trainings, they are interested in venue and menu. What about the contents of training? What about the learning? Why most of the people are waiting for the lunch break or tea break? It means that they have no interest or lack of interest in the topic being discussed in training session. So who is responsible? Of course, the organizers and the designers of that training are responsible. Because अगर वो ट्रेनिंग नीड एनालिसिस कर लें, अगर वो फाइंड आउट कर लें कि जिन पार्टिसिपेंट्स को वो ट्रेनिंग में बुला रहे हैं उनकी रियल प्रॉब्लम्स क्या हैं, उनकी रियल वीकनेसेस क्या हैं, and they link the training content with the real weaknesses of the training participants, तो फिर आप देखिएगा कि इंटरेस्ट लेवल किस तरह जंप करता है. So you need to ensure that employees have some interest involved in their work. Now, public sector की जब हम पाकिस्तान में बात करते हैं, तो why we say that in most cases performance is declining as compared to private sector of Pakistan. So one major root cause is when average employees and excellent employees in the same grade are getting the same annual increment. So when average performers and excellent performers are considered equal, when you are giving them financial rewards, I'm saying annual increment. अगर एक ग्रेड में आपने एक एनुअल इंक्रीमेंट दी एक एवरेज परफॉर्मर को और वही एनुअल इंक्रीमेंट आप दूसरे परफॉर्मर को दे रहे हैं जो कि एक्सीलेंट है, तो मुझे ये बताएं कि इंटरेस्ट लेवल का क्या होगा जो एक्सीलेंट परफॉर्मर है. डेफिनेटली वो डिक्लाइन की तरफ जाएगा. सो वी नीड टू इंश्योर दैट कि वी नीड टू डिस्टिंग्विश बिटवीन द एवरेज परफॉर्मर्स, poor performers and excellent performers in our organization. और जब हम ये distinguish करेंगे, तो definitely employees they will take more interest in their responsibilities. Otherwise, if you keep on doing same things every day, you will keep on getting same results every time. And finally, another learning obstacle is called blame culture. I strongly believe कि बहुत कम लोग हैं पाकिस्तान में जिनको ये ना पता हो कि what is leg pulling. Blame culture is very common in Pakistan. So instead of accepting the responsibility, most of the people blame others. So leg pulling is really very common. और यहाँ पे एक मैं ज़रूर एक strongly recommend करना चाहूँगा for the public sector of Pakistan that you need to like be very specific about the job responsibilities of your employees. Targets must be clear, values must be clear, rewards must be appropriate. तो अब जब हम इन चीज़ों को इंश्योर करते हैं तो एक्चुअली वी आर मिनिमाइजिंग द ब्लेम कल्चर. अदरवाइज क्या होता है कि हर पर्सन दूसरे पर्सन को अगर ब्लेम करेगा तो मुझे ये बताएं कि who will be responsible. So these three learning obstacles are really very important. There are other learning obstacles as well, but we have discussed only the major learning obstacles today in this slide. Now let us talk about the organizational performance. Organizational performance is the process of directing and supporting employees to work as effectively and efficiently as possible in line with the needs of the organization, according to the philosopher Walters. Now, let me ask you another question. How do you differentiate between efficiency and effectiveness of employees? Okay, in order to understand the difference between efficiency and effectiveness, okay, let me give you a simple example here. Like, for example, how an organization works. Input, process, output. So you have the input, you have the process, you have the output. So with the help of minimum input, you try to get the maximum output. This is called efficiency. और जो टारगेट्स आपने अचीव करने हैं, जो एंड रिजल्ट्स आपने अचीव करने हैं अपने आउटपुट्स में, those are called effectiveness. So we need to ensure that we have a team of people who are both efficient and effective. Now, talking about organizational performance, the higher you climb the ladder in your organization, the less chance you have of getting feedback about your performance. Now, this is a big tragedy, not only in public sector but also in the private sector of Pakistan, कि जो आप अपने कैरियर में आगे जाते हैं, जो आप टॉप मैनेजमेंट का हिस्सा बनते जाते हैं, तो आपको अपने परफॉर्मेंस के बारे में जो फीडबैक है उसके मिलने के चांसेस उतने कम होना शुरू हो जाते हैं. Those who could most use performance feedback to enhance their performance are often the least likely to get it. Now this is really very important and interesting to know that कि ये वो लोग हैं जो टॉप मैनेजमेंट का हिस्सा हैं. These are the people who are the decision makers in the organization. तो अगर डिसीजन मेकर्स को ही फीडबैक नहीं मिल रहा उनकी परफॉर्मेंस का, तो मुझे आप ये बताएं, तो हाउ दे आर गोइंग टू इम्प्रूव देयर परफॉर्मेंस. तो परफॉर्मेंस फीडबैक की जिनको सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत है उनको या तो मिल नहीं रहा है या बहुत कम मिल रहा है, या अगर मिल भी रहा है तो इन मोस्ट केसेस अनरियलिस्टिक मिल रहा है. Now, talking about organizational performance, there are certain myths. The first myth is executives neither need nor want performance reviews. Now, top management executives, वो ना उनको ज़रूरत है और ना वो चाहते हैं कि उनकी परफॉर्मेंस एवेल्युएशन की जाए, क्योंकि वो ये समझते हैं कि वो जो काम कर रहे हैं वो ही उनके लिए उनकी परफॉर्मेंस को शो कर रहा है. Myth number 2 is a formal review is beneath the dignity of an executive. ये अगेन एक फॉल्टी assumption है कि जो टॉप मैनेजमेंट एग्जेक्टिव्स हैं उनकी जो परफॉर्मेंस एवेल्युएशन है दैट इज beneath their dignity. Myth number 3 is top level executives are too busy to conduct their appraisals. They don't have time. And finally, number 4 is results are the only basis for assessing executive performance. Now, one thing is called output, the other thing is called outcome. Output ये है कि आपके जो end results हैं वो क्या हैं, whether you have achieved your targets or not. That is your output. Outcome is your increase in skills, your skill development and your capabilities and your competency में जो increase होता है, that is your outcome. तो normally ये जो faulty assumptions हैं जो चारों में सामने देखी हैं, इसको discourage होना चाहिए और top management executives को सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरत होती है उनके performance review की. Now talking about the organizational performance further, consider the following situation. The athlete searching for a coach who really understands him. The student waiting to see his guidance counselor at university. The worker who has just begun working for a new boss. So what do all these situations have in common? The need to manage performance effectively. So let us talk about learning versus rejection of new ideas. Now here, like for example, हम बात करेंगे, this is called a computer table chair. तो जिसने ये चेयर बनाई उसका ये ख्याल था कि this is the most ugliest chair in the world. इससे ज़्यादा बदसूरत चेयर हो ही नहीं सकती. And this chair will never get popularity in the world. Same is the case with television. Same is the case with computer. But now you see that the popularity of this chair, popularity of television, popularity of computers. So with the passage of time, इसी पे हम आगे बात करेंगे कि जो new ideas की rejection है versus learning, उसको हम further discuss करेंगे. Philosopher Gladwell believes that our preferences are quite unstable, especially when we are first introduced to something new. Now this is because we need time to learn about the new object or idea. We also tend to make up stories by picking up clues when we are introduced to something new. He further says that reframe for the holistic. Generally, heart patients do not follow the doctor's instructions, even facing a life or death situation. Thus, how can we expect leaders to change people? Dr. Ornish proved that through a holistic program that includes going after their feelings by having them attend a twice weekly support group sessions led by a psychologist. A study showed that after 3 years, 77% of the patients had stuck with their lifestyle changes and avoided the surgery. Now that was a big success. Facing death for most people is much too frightening to think about. Thus, patients often go into denial, whereas making daily life more enjoyable is a powerful motivator. Talking about flow rather than script, give employees flexibility in their work so that the situation is allowed to design itself rather than just becoming a carbon copy. So if you just follow others like robot, how you are going to bring in creativity and innovation? So बजाय ये कि आप सिर्फ as it is follow करते जाएं, मैं कहता हूँ कि आप अच्छी चीज़ों को follow करें लेकिन उसके साथ साथ जो working methods हैं उसके अंदर improvements भी लेके आएं. Talking about velocity and viscosity. Velocity is the speed with which knowledge moves through an organization. whereas viscosity is called the richness or thickness of the knowledge transferred. Knowledge requires viscosity, which uses rich sources. This is why knowledge can be so hard to come by at times. Organizational performance improves by focusing on learning, reframing, flowing, and viscosity. Now, talking about the performance gap, you see that on your left side you see the actual performance, on the right side you have the desired performance, and in the middle you see the performance gap. कि like for example आपके employer ने आपको कहा है कि this is the target और आपका काम यहाँ पे है और जो बीच में है that is your performance gap. Now how do you address that gap? There are different ways and we are going to discuss it now. What do we mean by underperformance? Consistently failing to deliver key aspects of your role in the organization is called underperformance. And according to research, these are the performance problems root causes, and these root causes are incompetence, poor working conditions, lack of resources, motivation और culture की जब हम बात करते हैं, employee knows how to perform but does so incorrectly. These are the reasons why managers sometimes do not address performance problems. They hope the problem might go away by itself. They have lack of confidence, discomfort with the role of manager, a fear that if the problem is highlighted, more problems might come up, a fear of confrontation, worry that working relationships might be damaged, fear of being challenged, lack of time, not knowing where to start, unclear whose role it is to address performance issues, lack of understanding that a performance issue exists, and lack of support. And these are the possible causes of underperformance: lack of training or support, poor supervision, tools, equipment not working adequately, unclear instructions or no clear targets, lack of understanding of the role, unrealistic targets, ill health, personal problems, relationships at work are difficult, workload, stress, change in the wrong job. Now, this is the procedure for managing poor performance legally. Number one thing is you need to investigate. Then formal discussion and informal discussions, time to improve, give time to your employees for improvement, provide training, support, coaching, etc., and consideration of alternative action before dismissal of your employees. Planning a difficult conversation, the desired outcome that you want, how to start the meeting, content of the conversation, managing oneself, and dealing with the conflict. So you need to plan all these before the conversation with your employees having poor performance. So you have to deal with the problems immediately, otherwise the person can reasonably assume their performance is acceptable. Others may become demotivated and stressed. Problem behavior will become a habit. A precedent may be set. Your credibility may be damaged. So how to ensure improved organizational performance? You have to set the improvement goals. Establish comfort for employees, allow employees influences in decision making, and provide constructive information. Improve your communication with your employees. And finally, when we talk about transferable skills development, organizational learning and organizational performance, skills are required for ongoing improvements. So acquiring skills, developing those skills So this is something which is ongoing. So one can never say that I have learned all skills. It is an ongoing process, like education. In learning organizations, motivation level of employees is always high, because in learning organizations you are also called the adaptive organizations, because you are following the signals from inside and outside the organization. Thank you very much all of you. I hope that कि आज के लेक्चर से आपने बहुत लर्न किया होगा. Inshallah, see you all in the next lecture. I am your facilitator, Professor Dr. Muhammad Majid Mahmood Bagram. Khuda Hafiz.